Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're looking at a squad of players who, whether for the good or the bad, refused to leave their club. Goalkeeper Pepe Reina. Over the course of Pepe Reina's career, he played for some of the greatest clubs in the world, going in between the sticks the likes of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Napoli and AC Milan. But the team he is most fondly remembered at is Liverpool, where he wore the number 25 shirt for nearly 10 years. In 2010, Pepe Reina was in his prime. He was only 27 and was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Rumours of a move had sparked after an interview with the Daily Mail had him quoted as saying, "Every footballer wants to be competing for trophies and winning things." The keeper's last silverware had come back in 2006, and that was just the Community Shield, leading journalists to believe he was looking elsewhere to help fill his trophy cabinet out, especially with the January transfer window just over a month away. But after speculation grew out of control, Reina was quick to put Liverpool fans' worries of a move to bed. Just days after, he released a statement saying, "I've seen a newspaper has made this suggestion. It is completely untrue. I have not told the manager that I wish to leave in January or at any other time. It is important our fans know this. I have a long-term contract at Liverpool and I am fully committed to the club." He even said later that he wanted to stay in Merseyside for another 5 or 6 years. The shot stopper would go on to feature 395 times for the Reds, having a very impressive goal conceded ratio of 0.86 a game and keeping 177 clean sheets in the process. Defender Darijo Srna. Not many players are regarded as one of the best in their position despite not playing in a top 5 league. However, Darijo Srna can claim to be one of them. The marauding right-back joined Shakhtar Donetsk from Hajduk Split at 21 years old in 2003 and spent the next 15 years with the minors, even sticking with the club after they were forced out of their home due to Ukraine's conflict with Russia in 2014. And the former Croatia captain certainly had opportunities to leave Eastern Europe. In 2009, Chelsea lodged a £10 million bid, and despite the temptation of a Premier League title, which the Blues would go on to win that season, Srna stayed put. Bayern Munich were also interested following Shakhtar's UEFA Cup triumph that summer, but they too were unsuccessful. Even Barcelona made a move for the then 34-year-old Srna in January 2017, but not even they could lure him away from the black and orange of Shakhtar. All in all, the icon of Shakhtar made 536 appearances for his beloved club, who retired his number 33 when he eventually left for Cagliari in summer 2018. But as you'd expect, he's already back, now as assistant manager with half an eye on the top job one day. Just before we move on to our next defender, if you're not already subscribed to Football Daily, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. Defender Wesley Bogarde. Now onto a player who refused to leave despite his club actively trying to get him off the wage bill. It's not like Wesley Bogarde was a small name when Chelsea signed him as a 29-year-old in 2000, having won the Champions League with Ajax in 95 and having a brief stint with AC Milan before winning the Liga twice with Barcelona, all whilst being a Dutch international. Bought by a Gianluca Vialli-led Chelsea side, the Italian was sacked and replaced by compatriot Claudio Ranieri just a week after Bogarde's arrival, who seemingly did not rate the centre-back very highly. On an astounding £40,000 a week contract, the Dutchman played just once between January 2001 and his deal expiring in July 2004. However, he maintained his professionalism by turning up to training day in, day out, despite being dropped to the reserves, then the youth team as the club tried to force him out. Bogarde has recently come out saying he would have taken a 30% pay cut to leave the club, but no sides were willing to pay that much for him, and ultimately the Champions League winner retired in 2005 with his last appearance coming as a sub in November 2002 in a League Cup tie against Gillingham, his only match in his last 1,283 days at Stamford Bridge. Defender Alessandro Lucarelli. A number of players on this list are loyal servants, but none of them had to go through what Alessandro Lucarelli went through during his decade at Parma. Signed by the club whilst they were in Serie B in 2008, he helped guide the club to Serie A promotion and was named as captain of the Crusaders in 2013. You probably all know the Parma story by now, with debts of over €200 million, the 1995 1995 UEFA Cup winners were forced into liquidation and moved right down to Serie D. The likes of Jonathan Biabiani and Antonio Cassano stayed in Serie A, but not Lucarelli. He chose to stick with a club that would be back playing regional football for the first time since the 1960s. Lucarelli captained the club to 3 successive promotions, as they flew right back up to Serie A at the first time of asking, with 350 appearances for the side topping Parma's appearance charts. He had already cemented legend status when, weeks before turning 41, he announced his retirement during the club's Serie A promotion party in 2018, whilst they retired his number 6 jersey. Smiles all round. Defender, Javier Zanetti. Now, we couldn't write this list without including Javier Zanetti, could we? The Buenos Aires-born defender amassed 1,114 appearances during his illustrious career, with 858 of those coming in the iconic black and blue of Inter Milan, where he spent 19 of his 22 years as a professional. During his time at the San Siro, El Tractor won 5 Serie A titles, 5 Coppa Italias, the UEFA Cup and the Champions League, but a chance meeting almost took his career on a different path. In the late 1990s, Zanetti can't recall exactly when, he bumped into Alex Ferguson in an England airport whilst on holiday with his wife. They discussed football, but the 143 capped international always maintained his love for Inter tipped the scales in any decision he ever made. Basically, he knew then he'd spend the rest of his life in northern Italy. Even an approach from former treble-winning manager Jose Mourinho to be player coach at Chelsea in 2014 couldn't sway Zanetti into changing his mind. He retired that summer aged 37 and was immediately appointed as Inter Milan vice president, and of course saw the iconic number 4 shirt retired too. Midfielder, Matt Letizia. One of just 2 players born in the Channel Islands to have represented the 3 Lions, Matt Letizia holds a special place in English football folklore. Nicknamed Le God by Southampton fans, the attacking midfielder was renowned for being creative and technically gifted, despite a fitness regime that was more suited for Sunday League football. More often than not, his breakfast was a McMuffin on the way to training. However, he netted 209 goals in 540 games for the Saints, yet only finished in the top half of the top tier 3 times as a regular starter. But it wasn't like Tis didn't have the opportunity to move on. In 1990, Tottenham Hotspur had all but sealed the deal to bring boyhood Lily-Whites fan Letizia to White Hart Lane. Southampton matched Spurs' terms to try and keep the 22-year-old on the south coast. And it worked. The Guernsey native also turned down an offer from Chelsea whilst turning out at the Dell. Whilst Glenn Hoddle was manager at Stamford Bridge, he inquired about bringing Letizia to the capital. According to Letizia, his agent rang him up and asked if he wanted to talk to Hoddle. His answer? No. Although we can't be sure if that was just because he grew up supporting their rivals. Midfielder, Jack Rodwell. When he broke through at Everton in the 2008-09 season, Jack Rodwell was England's next big hope, expected to pick up the central midfield mantle from Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard. It didn't quite pan out that way though, and after just 16 appearances in 2 years with Premier League powerhouses Man City, a 23-year-old Rodwell moved to Sunderland for around £10 million in 2014. Awarded a 5-year contract worth £70,000 a week, Rodwell made just 45 starts and 76 appearances in total, costing the Black Cats almost £5k per minute he spent on the pitch. When Sunderland were relegated from the Premier League in 2017, Rodwell was the only player not to have a 40% wage drop clause, immediately putting him as one of the highest earners in England's second tier. Sunderland officials pleaded with Rodwell to leave the club, but he didn't want to leave the Stadium of Light, despite only playing twice in their turgid championship season, preventing the club from signing a striker that may have helped them avoid that second successive relegation. He was eventually released in 2018, and we can't imagine he'd ever be welcomed back in the northeast. Midfielder, Mesut Ozil. In this instance, we'll be talking about Mesut Ozil and Arsenal. However, it is worth noting that the German international didn't necessarily want to leave Los Blancos. He was quoted as saying, "Leaving Real Madrid was the most difficult decision of my life, because why would you choose to leave Real? In my mind, the journey with Real was not yet finished." Having now given 7 years of his footballing career to Arsenal, contributing to a goal or an assist every 100 minutes, the 2018-19 season saw him play his least ever minutes in North London. He only reached 2 assists that campaign in the Premier League, and then Arsenal manager Unai Emery was keen to sell the midfielder. Emery had made it clear Ozil was not part of his plans, but when any conversation of moving on was mentioned, the number 10 was quick to cut them short, even rejecting the possible idea of a loan move to PSG. He was the club's highest earning player on £350,000 a week, was reportedly happy living in London, and preferred to run down his remaining 2-year contract than leave, especially when no other club would match his high wage demands. As it often turns out, the player lasted longer than the manager, and the arrival of Mikel Arteta has seen Ozil back to his best, featuring in the same number of games in Arteta's first 2 weeks as he did in his previous 2 months. Forward, Marco Reus. Now 30 years old, Marco Reus has seen the effects of leaving the Westfalenstadion and knows that sometimes the grass isn't always greener. After joining Borussia Dortmund back in 2012, the season after they had won the Bundesliga, the then 22-year-old forged strong relationships with Mario Götze, Robert Lewandowski and Mats Hummels, eventually seeing them all cross the rival border to Bayern Munich, and while some were a success, he also witnessed Götze's career fall. Now seeing this must have affected his decision on where his future lies. Over the course of his time at BVB, Reus was the subject of interest to 8 different clubs, ranging from Chelsea to Barcelona. When Manchester United came calling in 2015, the German international signed a new deal, keeping himself attached to his hometown club until the 2018-19 season. Moreover, Reus removed a €25 million buyout clause in his previous contract, which might have been triggered during the 2015 summer transfer window. His loyalty to his team was shown again in 2018, when he signed his most recent contract extension. Reus said the decision to extend his contract was a thank you to the club's fantastic fans. The fact that the club have repeatedly helped me in less than perfect times has also had a positive effect on my decision. Now, there aren't many clubs out there which would stand by a player who suffered 43 different injuries during his tenure, but it seems like Borussia Dortmund and Marco Reus have a relationship like none other. Forward, Antonio Di Natale. Many at home may know Antonio Di Natale more from FIFA than his prime playing days in Serie A, but the Italian, who represented his country for over a decade, joined Udinese back in 2004, starting what would be a career lasting 12 years and achieving 11 personal accolades, including being voted into the Serie A Team of the Year 3 seasons running. In 2010, Juventus was struggling. They had just finished 7th and, much like nowadays, decided to try and buy the best players in the league to help them. And there weren't many players better than 32-year-old Di Natale, who had just topped the scoring charts with 29 goals, 7 goals more than the next best. However, when Juve came in for him, the striker turned them away, saying in an interview, "I was thinking with my heart. I was happy with my family in Udinese, I was very attached to the shirt and the fans, and knew I had an important role there." But that wasn't the only time he was inquired about. Before the 2013-14 season, Di Natale was offered a contract by Chinese club Guangzhou Evergrande, with a yearly salary of €10 million, which at the time was coached by his former Italy manager Marcello Lippi. But yet again, it wasn't for him, turning down the offer and finishing his career at Udinese, appearing 445 times for the club and retiring in 2016. A true gent of the footballing world. Forward, Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale has now been at Real Madrid for longer than he was at Tottenham Hotspur, but whereas his 5 years in North London were filled with joyous times, his experience in Spain of late hasn't lived up to the hype. After his then world record fee of €100 million, Bale has collected 13 different trophies, including the Champions League 4 times, 3 of which were consecutive. The Welsh international has featured 244 times for Los Blancos, scoring 104 goals and assisting another 67, at a goal contribution rate of 1 every 102 minutes. However, over the course of 7 seasons, Bale has been the epitome of an injury-prone player, suffering 21 separate injuries and missing 82 games in total. This, along with the Madristas' belief that Bale hasn't quite done enough to be considered a success, not once scoring over 20 goals in the league, has caused a lot of frustration at the Bernabeu. Reports have suggested that Madrid's number 11 has failed to adapt to life in Spain, not learning the language and failing to interact with teammates, passing on bonding sessions with the group in favour of playing golf. It's been alleged several times that Florentino Perez has tried to offload the 30-year-old, who is on £300,000 a week, and when Manchester United, Bayern Munich and Jiangsu Suning all came calling, it was Gareth who didn't want to budge due to being content in the capital. According to the Daily Mail, Zidane told Bale in a face-to-face meeting that the attacker was no longer required at the club, but Bale made it clear during the same talks that he does not want to leave, especially when he may not receive the same wages elsewhere. Whatever happens in the future for Gareth, I don't think much will change his mantra: Wales, golf, Madrid. in that order. So that was our 11 of players that refused to leave their club, but have we missed out on any other players? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please click on screen for more, and as always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.